you can't force anybody to change.
Yeah, you can't.
You have to stay committed to your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really embody that energy of transformation and you do the work, things will naturally shift in your relationship because you will no longer tolerate the patterns that you guys have been living inside of. So one of two things will happen. It'll either motivate him to do the work and to change and to rise, or he'll show you exactly where you're at. And from there, you get to make a conscious decision of alignment in your life.
Free to be me, free to sing sweet feathers and envelop me like a hug.
So much of our lives are shaped by scripts we never consciously chose. Patterns around love, success, safety, and belonging. And at some point, those scripts stop working. What once protected us starts to limit us. Safe to be Seen is a space for honest conversations about that moment, when your body knows it's time for something new. We talk about what it means to build safety first, so growth, intimacy, and expansion don't come at the cost of yourself. This podcast is about updating outdated identities, softening survival patterns, and learning how to stay present through change. We're Darcy and Brandon, and this is Safe to be Seen.
One of the earliest stories of psychological and spiritual transformation ever recorded is about the mythological story of Queen Inanna. And this is actually like the oldest recorded, written, mythological story of transformation that we have, dated clear back 2000 BCE. And some scholars even claim that the oral record of that could be even older, like dated clear back to 5000 BCE. And this story was recorded on ancient Sumerian tablets, which is modern day Iraq. And her story is so fascinating. One, I think it's fascinating that anciently these stories of transformation, of death and rebirth, of like descent, have been told since the beginning of time. And Queen Inanna's story is that she was known as the Queen of Heaven and Earth. She was incredibly powerful. She was sovereign. She embodied love. She embodied strength, fierceness, creation. That's what she was known for. And even with all of that power, she chose to enter what was called the underworld. And the underworld is where her sister ruled. And before she left to go to the underworld, she told her servants, if I don't come back, come looking for me. This was a conscious decision that she made. And as she entered the underworld, which is where her sister ruled the underworld, she had to enter through 7 gates. And each gate that she went through, she was stripped of something. Her gold, her crowns, her jewelry, her beautiful clothing, all of these things that were a part of her identity. She was completely stripped of. And as she entered the last gate, she was naked and was beaten and was killed and hung on a hook. And she stayed there for 3 days and 3 nights. What is
That's sounding very
notice
familiar.
Some similarities
Yeah.
here. And she was like in this phase, this like initiation phase of not all the way dead, but not also alive. And she was rescued from people from the upper world that came and got her. But she came out of that subliminal space, more embodied, more sovereign, more depth, knowing more about herself than she ever had before. And this story is so powerful because I think it's fascinating that the earliest recorded history we have about transformation comes from a woman. Mm-hmm. And also, like, I just love this story so much because it teaches so much about the process of descent and that process of death and rebirth and stripping yourself of old identities, ego dissolution. Like, really, who am I? And in thinking about that in like today with modern women today, who are you underneath the Botox? Who are you underneath the eyelashes? Who are you underneath the plastic surgery? Who are you underneath the Range Rover that you drive or the fancy house that you live in? And this is not me shaming any of that. Like, I don't think any of this is inherently bad. But I think if any woman wants to go down the path of deep transformation, you have to be able to strip yourself of all of these things that you have identified yourself with. And who are you really? Who are you really underneath all of that? And I have had to ask myself these questions continually over and over again. And I was telling you this the other day, like, I feel like I'm really coming to this place in my life of kind of reaching that place of I don't want any maintenance in my life anymore. And I've already gone through that process of like the death and rebirth, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And stripping myself of everything that I thought that I was. All of these identities that I had attached myself to. But in so doing that, I never, when I was in that phase of my life, I never truly knew myself. I never truly knew what I was really made of, who I really was, without these labels, without these roles, without these identities that some of them I just had inherited. I had no conscious choice over. And so I think as women who are in this space of wanting more in their life, they're wanting more depth, more intimacy, more connection, more aliveness. That is the question you have to ask yourself. Like, are you willing to strip yourself of everything that you've known yourself to be? And who are you really underneath all of the masks and the performance and the self-abandonment? And what emerges from that is something so beautiful and so radiant and so alive. And so today we wanted to talk about that process of like the process that a woman has to go through, or that a woman can and should go through to become fully herself, and how that shows up in relationships. So feminine leadership in relationship, and what that looks like and what that feels like in relationship. Had you ever heard, had I ever told you that story about her before?
Yeah, we had talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's an awesome
It's one
story.
of the, in once a year I offer a program for women called The Descent. And we go deep into the feminine.
Yeah.
And it's one of the stories that I told to the women in that space, and just referenced her in so many different ways of this process of transformation, this process of becoming who you truly are.
So beautiful. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, paradoxes of life. You, in order to truly find yourself, you have to build a life, build an identity, and then allow that to crumble. Allow yourself to wake up to the fact that you feel lost within your own life that you have built, and that's because it was built upon conditions and patterns and wounds and trauma and beliefs and fears that were put into place to protect you and to try to keep you safe, but which at the same time blocked you and limited you from connection, from abundance, from peace, and from your truth.
Yeah. So in speaking about feminine leadership in relationship, this is something that, as in our story, that has evolved and that has, has come with a lot of difficulty sometimes, as you and I have gone through our own transformation process and ego death and identity dissolution and, literally becoming new people. of how we show up now in a relationship. And not coming from a place of we have this all figured out, because we definitely don't. But we have experienced a lot of beautiful changes that has deepened our relationship in the way that we show up in our own form of leadership.
Yeah.
And so, in starting out our relationship together, it was very much role-based. We had inherited these roles of this is what a man does, this is what a woman does. And I would say that we functioned underneath that paradigm. It was a system that quote unquote worked, but I would argue that we didn't feel fully alive in it.
Yeah.
We didn't feel fully ourselves. We didn't know it at the time. It just felt kind of like handed down to us. And okay, we will do that. And so it kind of became mechanical, repetitive. And it wasn't until our things started crumbling that we realized, man, we've been living a story that isn't even ours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, is when we tell our story, I think sometimes, I don't know if it's believed by the listener that, geez, was their marriage like terrible? Because, we talk a lot about, with vulnerability, how transformative our journeys have been, and so how much change there has been into this beautifully intimate and connected union that we now share with sovereignty and connection. And no, it's not that. You're right, like we functioned really well, probably, comparatively or relatively, but I would add we functioned in a survival type, like it was survival. It was like vanilla. Like vanilla's good. I like, I had vanilla ice cream the other night. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't my Rocky Road, right? My Rocky Road is my that's my treat. That's like what lights me up. That's what touches all the feel good in me, and like really is my thing, is that Rocky Road. And I opened up the freezer the other night with a little bit of a sweet tooth, and we didn't have any Rocky Road, but we had a little bit of vanilla left, and I was like, that'll work. That'll do. And what happens is, I think a lot of times, that honeymoon phase ends in a relationship. And before you know it, you have adopted the belief that that'll do. It's not what it used to be. It's not what I would really desire, like deep down, the kind of intimacy and connection and sex that I want, but it'll do.
I guess this is how it is.
I guess like that's how my friends' relationships are. That's how my, everyone I've ever known seems to have a relationship like this, where it's like, as you grow together and spend a lot of time together and get really comfortable with each other, and you just kind of lose the fire. And that's a lie.
Yeah, and it's so sad too.
It's a total illusion. So you don't know, though, until you get to that breaking point where what has been enough, the vanilla that's like, it's not really, gosh, what I want or thought it would be, if I'm being brutally honest. And it has nothing to do with like the love, like again, we're just telling our story. Like, but love is such an expansive, potentially, thing. I remember once you talking about how after you had our first child, and subsequently with each of our children, but how, with the first one, you had no idea like that your heart could expand so much, and hold so much love for someone until you had your first baby. And that's just it's proof that like love is, it's relative. It's I always say like it wasn't that I've never felt like it was a love issue between you and I.
Mm-mm. No.
But you have to accept and acknowledge that, and it's painful when you do. When you realize that your love that you had, it was only at the depth that at that stage in your life, that version of you, that nervous system of you that you had could hold. And so the beautiful thing about that, although that's like, damn, I can't believe, like I thought, the country song we reference quite a bit that says, and I thought I loved you then. Meaning like, yeah, you do think you love them, but when you realize that love is expandable, it's like it's intended to grow, but it only grows when you get the beautiful sacred privilege of facing yourself, of allowing yourself to fully feel, and allowing your heart to break open.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can like really take that like expansive step in your love. Anyway, yeah, it's like, yeah, we've always loved each other, but only to the depth that our awareness and our consciousness and our healing, and therefore our ability to hold greater love,
Yeah.
like it's a really beautiful process. It's just really, it's sad to me that we forget, and that then we buy into these lies that are just passed on, of like, well, that's just the way it goes. Like you're past the honeymoon phase. Like,
Just accept it. Just live the best you can inside that. Yeah. That's one of the most beautiful things about transformation work, is that your consciousness expands because of it. And when your consciousness expands, love also expands with that. And consciousness has no limit. Consciousness has no ending point. There is just forever evolving. It's not linear. It's like it just expands and grows. And we were just talking about this recently, how things have been so amazing between us, and we've just felt this depth in our marriage, in our relationship, that just continually deepens, and we're like, how good can this get? And it can just keep on getting better and better and better. There is no ending to it. Instead of thinking, how bad can this get? Changing that, how good can life be together? And so in speaking about feminine leadership in relationship, I am curious what you think that looks like and what that feels like, and what your experience with me has been like in that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I would just say that, to start out, that I do believe that in a romantic relationship between man and woman, that leadership is shared between the two, for sure. It's not like perhaps old paradigms and beliefs where the man is always making all of the decisions and always forcefully or controllingly, deciding, and just kind of, the woman is just kind of there to follow along and do whatever he says. That's not leadership. But what both man and woman bring into the relationship, different and complementing qualities, gifts, energies, and leadership traits. And when we talk about leadership, we're not talking about so much necessarily like the logistical strategical planning parts, mechanical parts of life. We're talking more about the actual container of the relationship and how therefore the energy within that container flows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see as, I'm not going to necessarily do like a hierarchical or prioritized list of any kind, but I'll just talk about a few things that I think are important. And I would say very, very important to feminine leadership in relationship is the devotion that she has to herself. The greatest gift that anyone can give in love is to love themselves, to be devoted to their own growth and individuation and transformational process, bringing them ever so closer and closer to their truth and their authenticity. That's the only way true love can flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say, this is like your response is coming from like our lived experience with each other of how maybe the way that I has shown up has helped you, has helped the flow and the energy and the container of our relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important that a woman be embodied, that she be connected to her heart, that she not project her pain from unhealed wounds onto her man. And that all goes into this, what I'm talking about is this devotion to her own inner work, her own embodiment.
And how has that helped you?
Well, because when you realize that everything is energy, and what happens is when a man is in the presence of a woman who is connected to her body, the woman that he loves, it energetically, it literally stimulates and catalyzes this. I can't explain it other than this huge desire to rise, to step into your power as a man. And it's so important that a woman be embodied, that a woman be connected to her body, that she be connected to her emotions, to her heart. And because otherwise, you get in a situation, I think, where there's a lot of projecting and there's a lot of, like, it's really hard to break through for a man. It's hard to feel inspired. It's hard to feel the desire to rise up, to be more, when there's any kind of shaming or belittling or criticizing, any of that kind of stuff going on. No. I mean, I feel like, Darcy, when you started like doing the work to connect yourself to your body, to reconnect to your emotions, to your truth, it was powerful. It was like this call to me to do the same. And so I'd say, yeah, embodiment and devotion to her own inner work. That's like I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, thank you. That's so beautiful. And that is feminine leadership.
Yeah.
Is that the energy that she holds inside of her body by being so deeply connected to herself and to her truth and to her essence naturally will, like you said, stimulate the masculine to rise. And there is a way to do that. And I see a lot of, I get asked all the time, like, I want to do the inner work, but my man is not motivated. he is not willing to go there. He doesn't think we need to do this.
Yeah.
And there's lots of layers to that. One I would say is the minute you think you are more evolved and more conscious than your partner, that's you holding superiority over them. And that's not being in relationship with somebody. Marriage is never going to be 50-50, and maybe you might be more motivated to evolve and transform and to learn, and you're reading all the books and you're listening to all the podcasts, and maybe his consciousness is more expanded in other things, and that's where like polarity comes into play. And I would also say that you can't force anybody to change.
Yeah, you can't.
You have to stay committed to your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really embody that energy of transformation and you do the work, things will naturally shift in your relationship, because you will no longer tolerate the patterns that you guys have been living inside of.
Yeah.
So one of two things will happen. It'll either motivate him to do the work and to change and to rise, or he'll show you exactly where you're at. And from there, you get to make a conscious decision of alignment in your life, but you're women who like nag, or who try to control, or who think that by complaining to their husbands about all the ways that they're falling short, all the things that they aren't doing, comparing them to other men, that is not going to motivate your man to want to change for you.
Definitely not.
It's only going to instill in him more shame, more resentment. That's not bringing you closer together.
And what it does also, Darcy, is, in a situation with, you reference nagging or criticizing, anything that's disrespectful or harsh or shaming, it creates an environment, like it really just reinforces the man's already perhaps subconscious, but it's their belief about himself. In other words, he probably already has some deep wounds related to unworthiness and shame. And if his woman comes to him, now I'm not saying, please don't misunderstand, I'm not saying to women, don't tell your men when they're wrong, or don't tell them like how they can do better. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's the energy that you come with.
Yeah.
It's your tone. It's your charge. Like you literally, your presence, your emotional regulation carries with it a charge. And if a man feels he's like being attacked, then it will come with shame. It will heap on and pile on what he's already deep within him, going to war with himself with, and it will just convince him that he's right.
Yeah.
So it really just isn't helpful.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing is like devotion to your own inner work, but also like it's really important to in that, like, be a steward of your own charge, your own energy, so that the woman, when you're coming to your man with concerns or with needs for improvement, that's beautiful, that's great. Don't shy away from that, but be a good steward of your own energy, and know, like, are you coming at him with love? Like we both work with so many different people who are in relationship where there's literal weaponizing vulnerabilities, meaning, a conflict might arise in a relationship and one of the partners starts bringing up stuff that the other partner, was vulnerable about, like tried to be open and honest and vulnerable, and then it gets used against them later on in a fight. It's not good. It's not helpful at all. So weaponizing vulnerabilities, or, bringing up mistakes from the past that are like, you've already kind of dealt with them. I'm not saying you can't ever talk about things from the past. I'm saying, when you're like getting something from the past and you're using it as salt in the wound,
Yeah.
or as some type of shameful motivator. It doesn't work with us men. I'm just telling you, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to name here that I understand the frustration of women who, I think studies have shown that women are more willing to pay for therapy, pay for coaching. They want to do the work.
Yeah.
And that can be frustrating when you're in a relationship with somebody who's like, no, I want to evolve. Like, I want to expand. I want to grow. And they're just like, sorry, I'm happy
They're good
where
with
I'm at,
vanilla, Yeah.
But, communication does matter, but you're exactly right. The energy behind the way that you are communicating to your person is everything.
Yeah.
It's felt long before words are ever spoken. And it's the flavor behind what you're trying to communicate to him. Of, hey, babe, I see you working so hard out in the world. I'm so grateful for everything that you do. I see you. And there's just there's this arena I'm wanting to play in right now. I'm so excited to tell you about it. I've been learning about this. I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to really help deepen us. And yeah, you want to play in this with me with a little bit, That versus, you were so lazy. Why you can't get off your ass and be like such and such down the road? Or I just listened to this guy on this podcast and you need to be like him. You see the difference there, ladies? It's huge. And it makes that is the power that the feminine holds. Her power, her life force is so great that she can move mountains. She can move men to want to do the work. That is why she is so powerful.
But here's the thing, babe. Yes. And just to emphasize your point, not though if she's coming at all of this from an energy of lack or her own need for some kind of validation, or if she is coming to her man in an energy of love and devotion, and softness, he will feel it, and he will want to rise up.
Yeah. And so in order to get to this place of feminine leadership in a relationship, I think there's 3 phases that a woman must walk through in order to be sovereign, in order to be embodied, in order to show up in a relationship like this where actually her energy is guiding their relationship toward a container that he can create where she can flow, where she can create beauty, where she can expand her love. Her essence is contributing to that. It's contributing to him wanting to provide for her in all areas of life. Providership is so much more than financial providership. It's providing for her in ways that will enable her to really feel safe enough to be in flow, to be in expansion, to be in love. But I think it's similar to the story of Inanna. You have to, and speak in putting that mythological story in today's terms of, you have to heal your wounds.
Yeah.
That's the first step. And if you don't think that you're wounded, if you don't think you have a trauma history, if you don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with me, that's probably a sign that there is.
Yeah.
If you're a human, you've been wounded. It's just part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And you have to take a good look at the way that you are showing up in a relationship. I remember so many times you saying to me, because I think I went through a little phase there where I was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. What's wrong with me? I'm good. And I remember you saying to me, you need to take accountability for your role here. And I wasn't willing to face it for a long time. And when I was able to face the role that I had played in our relationship, it was difficult because I had to face the ways that I had unintentionally and unconsciously hurt you and the why behind that. You know, why was I like that? And I had to heal and to repattern and to face the wounds within myself that I had unconsciously projected onto you. And the second phase then is that repatterning phase. It's that phase of like the 3 days and 3 nights where you are in between these two identities. You're in between the old self, where it's like, okay, I'm aware now. I'm aware of my wounds. I'm aware of the way that I've projected them on my spouse. I'm aware of my role in this relationship. There's 2 people in every relationship, guys. It's not always his fault.
Yeah.
And that's such an important phase in everybody's transformation journey, but in speaking particularly in women today, of being in that phase of repatterning, reorganizing. It's disorienting. It's so uncomfortable. You're no longer grasping for those things that you held onto so tightly that you thought kept you safe. And so it's like, well, what do I grasp onto now? Like, it's so disorienting and it feels so scary and it can feel so lonely. But that's actually like where you come to know yourself.
Yeah.
It's where you come to know what you're made of. It's where you come to find out the woman that you really are. It's where you see all the ways that you abandon yourself, the ways that you silenced your voice. You played small so somebody else could be bigger. You bought into this patriarchal paradigm that we've all been living under, that is power over, not power with. You realize the ways that you've overridden your own rhythm and your own cycle, where you've realized, like, I've actually been living in a patriarchal man's world that is not designed for a woman's body. You realize all the ways that you have given your power away to beauty industries and to things that you think are going to make you feel fulfilled as a woman. If I don't have any wrinkles, then I'm good enough. Then I'm beautiful enough. You know, if I fit into a size pair to a pants, then I'm worthy. Then I'm good enough. Then I'm beautiful enough. And it's sad to say this, that what us as women have let somebody else define the standard of beauty for us. And what's actually sickening about this is that with everything that's come out with like the Epstein files and stuff, is that we have let pedophilers set the standard for beauty in women.
Yeah.
Meaning the younger you look, the better you are. The bigger the boobs, the no wrinkles, like that's what's attractive. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Instead of letting women, we ourselves, decide what beauty really is.
Mm-hmm.
That we set the standard for that. That's not defined by anybody else outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we've become so scared of aging because of that. Because who are we? Once we are no longer menstruating, once we start aging and our looks change, it's almost like we feel useless in society.
Yeah, like the world just is like, hey, put her out with the trash now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really sad thing for women to have to experience.
Yeah.
Which is why the beauty industry is the multi-billion-dollar industry. Because women will go to extreme lengths to fit into this mold of belonging, of I have to feel useful in this world. I have to feel quote unquote sexy in this world. I'm not saying this to shame anyone. I have been a part of this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying any of these things are inherently bad. Like beauty products, Botox, like all the things, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying the why behind them is. Why, if you are doing that because you don't feel good enough, because you don't feel worthy enough, because you don't feel beautiful enough, that's a wound that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And that's part of this descent process to experience and go through. And it's difficult. I'm not going to come out and say it's easy.
Yeah.
But that second phase of you're shedding these old identities. You're shedding these roles that you've been told that you have to live inside of. You're shedding these beliefs that I have to look a certain way in order to be loved by a man, in order to be accepted by a man, in order to be deemed attractive by a man.
Yeah.
And then the third phase is embodying your new self. Coming out of that 3 days and 3 nights of hell and coming out more sovereign and more radiant and more beautiful. And radiance, that type of radiance cannot be bought at a store. It cannot be sold in a product. It cannot be given in a shot through a peptide.
Yeah.
That type of inner grace and wisdom and beauty and radiance is only come through your own deep inner work.
Yeah.
Facing yourself in the mirror, of shedding everything that you are not. And that's what feminine leadership is. You come out more fully yourself. You are not passive. You are able to communicate your truth with clarity and with love. You are able to emotionally regulate yourself, but also willing to share your emotions with your person without fear and without apology. You are not ashamed of your cycle. You are living in rhythm with it. And you know how to meet yourself inside those 4 different phases that a woman goes through. And you're so attuned to your own body that you trust yourself so deeply.
Yeah.
And you trust your intuition. Your intuition actually becomes scripture to you. You don't doubt it. You live by it. And when you are in this devoted, sovereign relationship with your spouse, he can feel that from you. And he also, because he trusts you because of the way that you're showing up in a relationship, he trusts your intuition. Women during their menstrual phase, the veil between the spirit world and this world thins. And you are in such deep alignment with the spirit world during your menstrual phase when you're shedding that you receive a lot of inspirational downloads and messages for the betterment of your family and of yourself.
But only if you're connected to your body.
Yeah, and you're able to communicate that. And I'm not saying you can't have access to your intuition at any other times, but I'm saying you are more connected to your intuition during that phase of your cycle. And you should be using that as a gift. Yeah. Back in ancient tribal communities, they actually they called it red tents. And the women, when you're in a group of women long enough, your cycles sync up. And so when the women in this tribal communities were all bleeding at the same time, they went to what was called the red tent. And they all sat there on the earth while they bled. And the men of these tribes would come to them and they would ask them for their wisdom. They would ask them for their advice because they knew that the wisdom that they were receiving during that time was going to better their community. That was going to better their people. That guidance that she was receiving during that time was going to help their overall structure of their community. That is what I'm talking about power with, not power over. And when women live in that type of alignment and that type of power and that type of beauty, it's a force of nature. Yeah. It's the most beautiful thing on this planet. Before we go on, I want to share a resource with you. Many people ask me how to actually start working with their nervous system in a practical way, especially if they feel stuck, anxious, or disconnected from themselves. So I created my somatic repatterning audios as a place to begin. They're designed to guide your body into safety and help shift the patterns that keep you looping, not through force, but through real embodied change. If that feels supportive for you, the link is in the show notes. Okay, back to the episode.
I would say that that's so beautifully said. Thanks, Darce. I just wanted to add that as you were talking about beauty, that I have found on my own journey of like coming to my truth and coming home to myself meant that I saw myself and I saw others so completely differently with my new lenses than with my old. And I started to realize that beauty, although certainly there are like just natural, biological, human, you know, beauty characteristics, that are like related to geometry and shape and color and size and all these different things that we, go into our creating this definition of what is beautiful in, let's say for a man in what he sees in a woman. But what I learned was beauty had much less to do with that geometry, with that that look, and had way more to do with aliveness. Like when a woman is fully alive, like fully connected to her body and sensual and confident and knows who she is, you're right, she's radiant, like she glows, she is magnetic. And it doesn't really matter to any great extent, in my opinion, what she looks like what her physical characteristics are,
Yeah, that's that magnetic feminine essence that, you're right, it radiates.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too that like one of the things, Darcy, that you just have such a gift for, and so effectively and lovingly and patiently did to like help call me to rise, was your journey of sovereignty. Because I believe, like, Darcy, I think I learned that although we all, it's a normal human desire to feel needed, but I think that for me, it's more a quality of a boy to feel needed, and it's more a quality of a man to feel chosen. And when we started cracking out of this this thing that we were in of like expectations, covenants and contracts, roles, mechanical, like when we started breaking out of that, because it was crumbling for us. You stepping toward your sovereignty was so powerful, because it was no longer like obligatory. That energetic shift from like contractual, obligatory, transactional, covenant, dependence, like even down to our religious and spiritual beliefs at the time, which were, I'm not making it to heaven without you, so you better get your shit together. That like,
yeah,
the way that we were raised in believing that like I couldn't be exalted without you and you without me.
Yeah, we were bound together for eternity.
It's just this incredibly beautiful energetic shift that happens when it goes from all of that to a conscious, free choosing. And that's what a man wants. A man wants, so when I think about feminine leadership in a relationship, I think about that that woman doesn't need me.
Mm.
You know, that woman doesn't need me. She chooses me. That changes everything.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And that's what happens when you come out of survival.
Yeah.
You are connected to choice. That is your power. Is I have choice in this situation. And I remember when that whole process of me becoming more sovereign and more embodied and more free in myself of like, it was stripped away when we left religion because we no longer were living inside those contracts and those rules and those like, this is the way it is. And we gained more access to choice, you know, because we had to come to this place of, we got married underneath this agreement, this certain way of being with each other. And at the time when we got married, even though I believe we would have found each other in another way, but we married each other because we were both Mormon, because we both had the same religion. And we were like, I'm not marrying somebody unless they're the same as me in that.
Yeah, I mean, I was your perfect priesthood-holding returned missionary, and you were my perfect, untouched, pure Mormon girl.
Ready to be barefoot and pregnant mama. Yeah. And so when that all came crumbling, we had to face each other and be like, do we still choose each other? You know?
Yeah, you have to really look at the reality that, yes, we love each other, but again, only to the depth that we're capable. And so really, you have to strip it all away and be like, we connected and were attracted to each other and ended up married to each other because the truth, we were of the same belief system.
Exactly. And so in that process, as we were unraveling all of that, and we were becoming more sovereign and had more access to choice and more access to agency, like our own agency. And we were like trying to build something new as this old paradigm and this old way of being was crumbling. Man, that came with some massive, harsh fights. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try to say me and Brandon flowed through that with no problems and no fighting and no swear words. And
when one of your, like, let's say maybe predominant or like top of mind at least patterns was to people please, to like manage everyone's emotions and make sure everyone's good and happy. Well, it's almost like for you to heal that, you had to like do a 180.
You did not like that.
There were parts I was like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen Darcy this way.
I know.
It was good.
It was good.
It was hard.
But it scared you.
Yeah,
and
did.
Understandably so. Your change also scared me.
Yeah.
It's like, but I only know you as this one way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can imagine one spouse going through this, but me and you doing that together, you can only imagine the crumbling taking place as we were trying to see each other through all this and be okay with this change. And man, it was a lot. But what emerged was something so profound and so beautiful and so much depth, more than we could ever have imagined. But this is what I'm talking about with feminine leadership, is in as I was becoming more sovereign and trying to figure out what does even sovereignty mean? What does it feel like? What does that look like in relationship? And I was like, as I was becoming more empowered in my feminine, of like realizing all the bullshit that I had tolerated, not just with you, but with patriarchy in general. And I'm not talking just about spiritual patriarchy, but like systemic patriarchy. Yeah. And all the ways that I had abandoned myself and the ways that I had performed and whose life was I living really, you know? And I would, in me trying to like motivate you to like see me and to recognize me in that, it came out with harshness and like, you know, all the things that we talked about earlier, like yelling and probably some shaming and bringing up old wounds. Like I participated in that. I'm not going to shy away from that and deny that. I did. And part of that journey for me was really realizing like what real, pure, beautiful feminine essence is that she does not communicate herself in that way to her man in order to get what she wants from him. And there was this one really big shift in our relationship where I was like, I was just like done with the way that we had been interacting with each other in that. And I had felt this shift within myself of this, what real power within myself felt like. And that when I was communicating with you in that way, I was giving away my power. That's not an empowered, embodied feminine, you know? And that shift, and when I felt that shift within myself, I was able to communicate to you so clearly with presence, with power, with confidence, not with rage, not with hate, not with anger, but of this is where I'm at, this is what I will no longer tolerate, and this is what I need from you to be able to for me to stay.
That was big time leadership on your part, so thank you.
Yeah, and I remember like you, a shift happening in you after that. Because it's like you felt, like you said, you felt that charge within me of like, she's for real this time. This is not just her reacting out of survival.
And no shaming, no anger, no. I mean, maybe there was anger, but you were so like surgically precise in your delivery of like, and it just wasn't. It didn't come like it was a beautiful. It's a beautiful gift you have in general, Darcy. Of like, you know, oftentimes. I know I do it. A lot of times we as humans, when there's something really important, we kind of, you know, we go to hyperbole and exaggeration and we get all excited and we repeat it a lot. I do. I repeat myself all the time when I'm really excited. And you just very directly and with extraordinary power, but not overwhelming, not loud, not boisterous or any way like distracting. It's like you have a gift anyway of doing that. But yeah, I remember just feeling like, oh, this is a different, very, very different feeling when you came to me with what was very obviously, it was almost as if you had like finally, after digging for hours, like you had found your treasure chest. You found it and you were like, you just told me, you said, I'm not basically, I won't live like this anymore. Yeah. I won't tolerate this or that, you know, and you were very calm, but very direct. And it was just, I could feel it. I could feel your love, but I could feel like, I think more than anything, your love for yourself. That's that embodiment. That's that sovereignty. I felt it. And I was like, and it's hard to explain. You know, it wasn't like, well, I better get my shit together. Damn it. You know, like, or like, it was like, I wanted to. I felt like this desire swell up and expand within me of like, let's go. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and this is where like this beautiful synergistic dance starts really coming into flow in relationship, because once you experience it, like once you have an embodied experience with it, then you always have a reference point to go back to. And so now, like where we're at in our relationship, it's like entertaining the thoughts of ever arguing about that again in that way. Why would we? When we have found this other embodied way of being with each other, that creates so much more direction and change and flow with inside of our relationship. And yeah, I think that the power that women hold with men because the truth is, Brand, is that women want to be led by men. We want you to lead us in a way that makes us feel like we have this safe containment for us to feel with life and creation and flow and energy. And I'm not saying that women can't take care of themselves without a man. Like, they absolutely can.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, and I think I've already said this in a podcast episode, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but if you were to walk into a room with a bunch of independent women, they provide for themselves financially, you know, they don't need a man in that way. If you were to walk into a room and you were to ask these very women who are successful and independent and, you know, how do you feel in your body? Are you exhausted? Are you really truly happy? Like, how do you feel inside of your body? And what would that feel like for you to like have a man come in and take care of you in a way that, not that you can't do it, but that you want it, because you want that containment of what that feels like to be held by something else. You know, I guarantee you most of those women in that room would raise their hand of like, yeah, I want that. I want to be able to like come home after a busy day of being in my masculine energy and producing and making money, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I want to be able to come home and rest in the arms of my man and to let go and be soft and be sensual and free and alive in that way, you know, and men want that. Like, men want to be able to provide that for women so much. And if you can approach your relationship in that way of gratitude, I think, instead of, I mean, how many women, I don't know, like actually thank their man for the work that he provides? Not just expect it, but like, babe, I see you. I see how hard you're working. I so appreciate you. Mm-hmm. Come over here after work. Let me rub your shoulders. Let me, you know, this is where like you feel devotion. It's not obligatory, but you feel each other's devotion to each other. And how can I enrich your life when we are together? And how can I expand in this love? And how can I make you feel like you can like rest inside of my softness and inside of my presence? That is what drives a man to want to continue to produce, to want to continue to provide and to protect, because it doesn't feel obligatory. It feels that it's this richness and this like devotion that feeds his fire to want to do that. And it just becomes this really beautiful thing in relationship. And men are so motivated by that. They're not motivated through shame and through comparison. They are not motivated through you bringing up all their past shit and all the mistakes that they've made. You know, there's a reconciliation process for that, for sure. But you have to get to a point in your relationship where it's like you need to heal that resentment in order to move on. You know? And if you want your relationship to work and if you want it to last. And I that was something I had to go through too. I remember you telling me a lot of times, you have resentment for me. And I'd be like, no, I don't. This is also my phase where I'm like, I don't have resentment. What are you talking about?
It was so hard.
But it was like, coming out in so many ways.
Oh my gosh, you are so resentful toward me and you don't even know it.
I know. And
just admit it.
I know. You just wanted me to admit it. I could not admit it.
You have plenty of reasons to be. I'm giving you permission to tell me you resent me.
I know.
Like, no, I don't. I don't resent you.
I know. And I had to come to you one day and be like, yeah, I have a lot of resentment. Yeah. But I'm choosing to forgive. I am choosing to see you in a different light. It's that choice. When you are out of survival mode, you have that choice within inside of yourself to be able to do that. And you can actually, like, for women on an everyday basis, I just want to normalize how resentment gets built up. You start having kids, you're exhausted, you're not seeing the ways that he's helping you, or not loading the dishwasher at night when you're exhausted, or you've spent the whole day raising little babies and nursing and preparing Lunchables and not being able to use the bathroom in privacy, and you're exhausted. And then your husband comes home at the end of the day and he's like wanting you to be sexual and sensual. And it's like, bro, I'm freaking tired. you know, and resentment gets built up because resentment is actually, if wherever there's resentment, there's self-abandonment.
Yeah.
Of not communicating your needs.
Yep.
And this is where embodiment comes in, because you're so connected to your needs and you don't have fear over expressing them, and that you can just be able to say that.
And you express them from a place of love.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
That's
Instead of like,
it makes sense.
yeah.
When you're out of that, when you're disembodied, when you're disconnected, when you're in survival mode, it all comes out sideways.
Yep.
So you might actually be saying the same words that in a scenario where you were embodied and connected and sovereign, you know, they might be like very similar words, but it's just, you can't, until you experience it yourself, that energy, it's all energy. It's the why underneath it.
Yeah. And
it gets felt.
Yes. And ladies, men don't know what it feels like to be a woman. They don't. You have to communicate to them what that is that you need and what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So that when they come home and you've had an exhausting, hard day with little babies and temper tantrums and cleaning and running errands, and like, you can come home and you can say with confidence and with kindness and love, babe, man, I'm so tired. It would do so much for me right now if you would make dinner tonight so I can go take a bath and just have a little bit of alone time. Because this is what I'm feeling in my body. I'm feeling so overwhelmed and I'm feeling so exhausted. Instead of them coming home and being like, why can't you see that I'm tired? Why do I have to tell you to go load the dishes? You should just know that. You know?
Yeah.
There's such a difference.
Yeah. Can I add just a few things as we finish up?
Yeah.
So you spoke a lot about like what men, you know, think or feel or whatever, and I just, you're spot on. I just want to, from a man, I want to say, and some of it's repetitive and just confirming what you said, but yeah, I think that like, if we're talking about feminine leadership in relationship, from my experience and my standpoint, I would say that it's really like what we want as a man. Now, again, it's tricky because you have to know whether you're dealing with a boy or a man. But as a man, as someone who has a lot of work to do still, but who has a sincere desire to be my best self, I want you to speak your truth. I want so badly for you to tell me exactly how you feel and what you're going through, and like, give me your heart. Give me all of your heart. Don't hold back. Don't try to protect me. Don't try to like avoid conflict or hurting my feelings, or like, I want your heart. I want to know your inner world. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I would echo what you said about, please don't compare ever your man to another man. It may be in your best of interest. It may be you maybe referring to some podcast or to a brother-in-law or a friend. It is so hurtful and shameful for a man to hear that, any kind of comparison. Similarly, but a little different, criticism, like, you know, the nagging that we already kind of talked about, like coming at all that, like, need for improvement and desire for what you want your relationship to look like and how things need to function within that. Just maybe, you know, for the woman to just take an honest look at herself about her approach in that, her energy behind that, her why behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really, really important things. And then, you know, I do think it's, you know, us men, we do love, we actually oftentimes experience love you talked about like men don't have any idea what it's like to be a woman. We're by design so differently. We're so different, and even down to like the way that, again, this is what's so fascinating to me about love, is not only that, like we talked about earlier, it's so expansive, like limitless expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you can at any chapter of your life love, but it's very likely that at a future chapter in your life, that love is way more expansive, right? It doesn't mean you didn't love before. It meant you only loved to the depth that you were capable, to your consciousness, to your awareness. But now that has expanded, right? Well, the same is true. Like men, another fascinating thing about love is that men oftentimes don't even experience love the same way that a woman does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, women oftentimes experience love at its greatest depth first through feeling emotionally connected, right? Like having that emotional connection, that safety, and then they can expand into that and
Mm-hmm.
into their sensuality, into the free flow of their love without fear. But a man oftentimes experiences love first through the physical, And the point I'm trying to make is that if I'm giving like two women a few things that they can work on in their leadership, in their relationship, it's to, of course, this is going to be proportional to their own healing and growth and embodiment and all of that. But to at least like make a priority the physical contact, the physical touch
Mm-hmm.
with their man. Like even like you said, even if it doesn't always have to be sexual, but if it's like there's nothing better than, just your touch, your rubbing my shoulders, or your hand on my knee, or your hand in mine, or whatever, just like it's too easy to let that physical connection go
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a relationship for a while and that honeymoon phase is over. And I would just add that to the list that like a little bit of physical touch goes a long way with a man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very healing. You're like the feminine touch is very healing for us.
Yeah, women are natural healers.
Yeah.
It's actually part of their, I don't like saying the role, but it's actually part of the gift that they bring into relationship is their healing powers that they offer to men.
Yeah.
It's kind of like men go out and hunt for the food and come home, and like women then get to like prepare it and create this beautiful meal out of their men's hard work.
Yeah.
And that can be related to so many other areas of life and inside of a relationship of that, just like that, like men, if your man is the main financial provider in your home and he's coming home from a hard day and is stressed and carrying a lot of those burdens on his shoulder, your touch
Huge.
is healing to him. It actually helps regulate him and helps him to sustain him so they can wake up the next day and do the same thing again.
Yeah.
And that can be demonstrated in so many aspects of your relationship, no matter who is the financial, who makes the money in the home. That there's so many other ways that can be brought out. But yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you, honey.
Yeah, and I would just maybe lastly add the maybe obvious, but the phone. In today's world, it has to be talked about. It's one of the great impediments to presence and connection, like true connection. It's a pseudo connection, and it sometimes is a connection depending on how it's used. But the phone oftentimes slips in there and takes the place of true connection between man and woman. We both work with a lot of people where we see in their dynamics that like at the end of a busy day, where they're just exhausted and burned out, and they're in survival mode, full-blown survival mode. They've got kids, like life is just insane. Well, finally time to wind down and have like maybe what might be the only hour they have without chaos. And a lot of times they resort to just being on their phones and not even talking to each other.
Yeah.
And so that would just, feminine leadership in relationship to me is a woman who, like her entire life, is boundaried, is contained, is devoted. And that in relation to the phone just means that, like, it doesn't mean don't be on your phone. Like, it means knowing when, like, being attuned to your man, and like I don't know how to say it any other way, but like I've worked with enough men to know that it's like up at the top of the list of things that hurt us. When we want so desperately to connect with our woman, even though we probably don't know how anymore, like we've forgotten, but it's that we want to, that desire is there, and she's just over there on her phone.
Yeah. And the sad thing about that is she's probably on her phone watching reels about men and women connecting with each other.
Yeah. Good point.
Instead of putting down her phone and actually trying to connect with her own husband. Yeah. And that goes both ways.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, babe.
Thank you. Thanks for your incredible leadership in our relationship. I'm so grateful.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. And if you are liking this podcast, particularly this episode, please share it with friends, with family you feel like might learn something from it or could use it in their lives right now. We really appreciate any sharing, any reviews, any likes. Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Love you, babe.
Love you.
Free to be me, free to sing, sweet feathers and let me like